we are suffering through so many things as it relates to peace of mind,
Mm-hmm.
happiness, feeling purposeful, and having great relationships. And while this might seem really simple, it is not simplistic. It is really hard work. And how I got started with this is because, I think that very early on, I did want to do this kind of work. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I went from graduating as a nurse, I'm a graduate nurse,
Yeah.
to then getting into the space of corporate coaching. I was working with Dell and HP, but still didn't quite energetically settle in, and I wanted to be honest with myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that over the last 15 or 16 years, through my own experiences, the ups and downs that I went through, I started to really pay attention to some of these things that I was experiencing as patterns in my life. And I really started to double down and work on myself. I'm
Right.
not saying I'm there yet. I feel that it's a constant transformation where you're moving and you're growing and evolving just like a plant.
Mm-hmm.
But that was where I began with myself, with
Right.
taking ownership for who I am and who I am becoming. And
Right.
I have to add that my book, Becoming You, is finally out. We're going to be announcing this. We have five other authors from five different countries who have been a part of this. The name of the book is what you just asked about, The Journey of Becoming.
Yeah.
I really believe that we can learn a lot from each other.
Right.
I believe that a conversation like this allows me, I might be talking right now, but I am also paying attention to you as you are paying attention to me. And there's a lot that we can learn from one another
Right.
if we choose to listen,
Mm-hmm.
if we choose to create space to acknowledge that we don't know everything. And isn't it true? I mean, we don't know everything.
Yeah,
And
I have a
so
story about that, but yeah, go ahead.
And so, from that space, that is what I bring in. I bring in old world wisdom and tools blended with Western frames to help my clients with a structure, but also with really, really powerful techniques and practices. Something like what you experienced during your conference that I facilitated, but so much more than that for
Right.
people to be okay with who they are. I think most of the time we're running away from who we are, and that's what gives us this lack of peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. When you're saying we have to acknowledge what we don't know. And I just have a little story about that is many years ago, I was working with a gentleman and he wanted me to understand why anger is not good for us. And I noticed, pointed it out to me actually, and I found myself saying, I know a lot, I know, but I don't know. And so it's just like, I'll say to somebody, like, I'm from so and so, and it gets really cold, and this is what happens, and they all say to you, "Oh, I know," and I said, "No, you don't know, because you didn't really hear what I said, right? You just know, right?" And we all, yes, we all have our inner knowing, our intuition, our heart that speaks to us and everybody else. I get that, but there's a lot of things we like to say, I know. And we don't know because we haven't taken the time, like you were saying, just to listen and pay attention to what that person is saying. They may be sharing a story or an experience of them, and somebody's sitting there going, I know, I know, I know. Well, you may have known, but you really don't know. So I think it's very important that we stop, like you're saying, and just listen. And I had to learn really hard because I didn't realize how often I said that word. I know, I know, I know, but I don't know. So I think, it's like you were just saying, if we just stopped and quit saying I know, which I had to do, and it's not to say I can find another word or framing around I know, but yeah, to your point about knowing we don't know it all. And we like to think we are because we want to look like we're the expert. But we're all following each other. We're all following somebody that inspires us and that type of thing, right? So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. I have to add something to that. I think that's really powerful what you shared, and thank you for your honesty. I know that over the last few years of doing shadow work,
Yeah.
which is really, it has been very, very. It's a lot of chaos. It's a lot of fear
Yeah.
because you're going into your shadows. And for me, I've grappled, and I still do.
Hmm.
But earlier on, I've grappled with rage and anger for a really long time.
Right.
And I didn't even know that I had that inside of me. It was mostly unconscious, covered with another layer of perfectionism,
You're right.
covered with arrogance,
Yeah.
covered with I know it all. It was all a shield.
Hmm.
And when I started to do the work, the inner work, which I do with
Yeah.
my clients as well, I started to realize I had all this anger deep down that I didn't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to do the work, and it has been, and it still is really hard work,
Right.
I started to release and forgive and understand love, because I couldn't I couldn't attract that because I wasn't that.
Right.
I had all these things inside me that had to dissolve.
Right.
So to your point, I think that for a lot of years, for a really long time, I had this mask of perfectionism, but underneath that there was a whole lot of rage.
Right. Right. Yeah. And how did you get to that perfectionism, or how did you is it a childhood thing that you learned, or how did you become a perfectionist?
Yeah, so if you look at most of the egoistic uh, shadow masks
Yeah.
that we wear,
Hmm.
most of it from a 3D, three-dimensional perspective come from childhood programming
Yeah.
to maybe a love loss and things where we felt rejected or abandoned and things like that.
Hmm.
And many of that is true in my case as well. I share this very openly in my upcoming book.
Right.
But the other thing that I believe through my spiritual practice, through my own spiritual growth, is that a lot of it has come from a different life as well. Because if I look back, I was a very silent kid. I was a very quiet child.
Yeah.
Uh, Not because I wanted to, but because, I was just made to feel like that, like a nothing.
Hmm.
And so I think for anyone watching in, including ourselves out here, I think really, the value of honesty,
Hmm.
regardless of where we want to pass the blame. It could be our parents, it could be that situation, it could be a past life, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's The question I have is, do you want to change? Do
Hmm.
you want to get better? Do you want to live a better life? Do you want to experience happiness? Do you
Right.
want to experience freedom? Can answer these questions really honestly, then that's where the inner work really begins.
Right, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I have a different method of doing that as you have your method. But yeah, so what do you think the biggest challenge with people are right now, the people that you work with? What are some of their biggest challenges that you find that they have? Or,
So, to a very great extent, I see myself in all my clients in a good way, that I have lived through or processed much of the pain, much of the struggle that they come with when they come to me.
right,
And having said that, I think that at a human level, many of the things that we struggle with consciously or unconsciously are all connected. We'd
right.
like to we'd like to separate them and distinguish one from the other, but
Hmm.
it all comes down to duality. And once we start to recognize that, then we can tap into something that transcends the duality, which is unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of the process that I facilitate with clients.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the clients come with issues around their relationships,
Mm-hmm.
professional and personal.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the times they are deflecting or projecting their struggle onto someone else.
Right.
It's someone else that needs to change. I'm just here to find out how I can change them.
Yeah.
And they most of the time they come in like that. I was there, so I know
Mm-hmm.
how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
But then, in month one, which is probably the toughest month, we
Yeah.
do a lot of clearance. It's like lifting that rug and sweeping underneath years and years and years of everything that's gone underneath.
Mm-hmm.
By week two, sometimes I've had clients come back and say, I can't do this. I
Yeah.
just can't do this. And then we walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the bottom of what are they avoiding, because what they're avoiding is really where the breakthrough will happen.
Right.
So yeah, so that's pretty much how I kind of open things up and unpack things.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and like you were saying, that type of work is very grueling and challenging. I've been through it many times myself, and it's like, but on the other side, it's so much brighter, and just you just kind of glow, just like what you are, just glowing, right? So it's well worth the effort to go and dig underneath whatever it is not so working for you, right? And just
Yeah.
let it go, like figure, find out what it is, and let it go and release it, and sometimes, I know some people say, well, you don't really have to dig that far. And I said, well, sometimes you really do, right? Because if you
Yeah.
otherwise,
In fact, I think you bring up something really powerful. I think in my experience, the more we dig, the more there is to work on. It's just, that's how deep our being is.
right, right, yeah. To unless you can really just show up. Even the people that say, well, I had a great childhood and nothing's wrong, but yet they've got these attitudes, or they got these behaviors that you go like, are you, you don't think you have a problem, or everything is okay. And so sometimes we still have to check in with ourselves. Even for myself, I'll speak for myself, is that I even have to sometimes check in with me and say, okay, am I being kind? And if I'm not, why? And because, people remind many of us of ourselves, right? I might speak to somebody that is just like, oh my God, how do I? And I always stop to think about, before I say anything to anybody, is like, okay, how can I respond to them? Or maybe there's no way I can, so I just have to let it go. But yeah.
Yeah.
Inner work is so important. Yeah.
To your point, anything that triggers us, anything that triggers me,
Yeah.
I now have to step back and say, why is this triggering me?
Right.
What is this reflecting back?
Right.
That is the learning point for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was okay with it, then I would be okay with it. Why am I not okay with it?
Right.
Because the interpretation is in my mind,
Right.
not that person.
Right.
So that's one thing. And I think the other thing is that I do a lot of work from a couple of spiritual teachers. One is definitely the Bhagavad Gita. The other is this spiritual teacher and quantum scientist, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
in California.
Mm-hmm.
He has I think it's called like a church
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
So I use part of his principles, and
Mm-hmm.
then and these are like at a high level. And then the other person is Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
And the principles that I want to bring in from Deepak Chopra's perspective is interconnectedness and our relationships. And he says that all of our relationships, no matter whether they have worked out or not,
Mm-hmm.
never truly end. And there is a reason why we magnetize and attract certain people towards us. They are a mirror reflection of something inside of us,
Mhm.
good or bad.
Right.
Again, we come back to that duality of good, bad, kind of a thing. And using that as a learning, a bowl that helps us tap into something that we're not conscious of within ourselves.
Right.
I know that right now I'm doing some work around that, around particular relationships, where I continue to realize that I have been a people pleaser and I
Mhm.
have not spoken my truth and I
Mhm.
have not had the courage to create boundaries for myself.
Right.
And then, I go around thinking, oh, poor me, I'm the victim, and I have a blame story. Look at me, poor thing. There's all this toxicity, but it's not.
Yeah.
I have given the connection that permission, and
Mhm.
I need to take that back.
Right. 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 Yeah, that's always been my true thing too, is, just like you say, people pleasing, please others before myself. And then I wonder why I don't get anything done.
And feel exhausted about it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit more, Caroline, about who you like to serve, and how they can get a hold of you, just, if they want to be working with you.
Sure, sure. I appreciate that very much. So my clients up until now have been leaders, people managers, people transitioning from a corporate role into starting their own business,
Hmm.
people who are already business owners, and these are largely in the B2C space.
Yeah.
Up until before COVID, BC, I have also been working with corporates, with teams and things like that. So that's pretty much my focus.
Okay. Okay. And if they want to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you, Caroline?
Yeah. So I'm most active on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook as well, but for work, anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Caroline Cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to serve and support.
Yeah. Well, we'll put your information below the post after we end, and people can reach out to you. I'll have it.
Awesome.
It's all on Hard at Work. I'm sure that you can share the link on your page or whatever. And it is being
Awesome.
recorded, so we'll be able to share it out later to other avenues, of course. So anyway, any final thoughts you want to share with everybody, Caroline?
Yeah, yeah, I think that we are at a very powerful time as a civilization. I
Hmm.
think that while at a surface level,
Yeah.
at the level of phenomena,
Hmm.
there many of us are emotionally reactive
Right.
because a lot of things that we have attached our identities to are breaking down
Hmm.
systemically.
Yeah.
And so we're going, oh my God, what do we do now? Who
Yeah.
are we? Whereas, collectively, I think there is huge, massive opportunity for breakthroughs, for being
Hmm.
honest,
Hmm.
for being able to understand purpose, intention.
Hmm.
And one thing that really comes to my mind as a vision is work from your heart,
Right.
because we're so used to, we're in our mind all the time.
Hmm.
Talk, 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 talk on social media, yak, 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 yak. But if you drop your focus into your body, if you drop your focus and start working from your heart, that is when you will have what you used right now. You use the word direct knowing and intuition. It
Hmm.
comes from your heart, not from your mind.
Right, right. So true. And so often that we need to be taught, I guess, how to speak from our heart, because we don't necessarily know what that means, right? But it's really just dropping in, right? And just listening. Sometimes we don't have to say anything, we just have to listen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. Great. I'm so happy to have you, Caroline, today. We finally connected. It took a while, but we got it.
It's been such an honor. It's always an honor connecting with you. You have
Yeah.
such a grace and so much compassion. So I send you so much love. Thank you for your time. And
Yeah.
thank you, everyone, for
Yeah,
watching
thank you
in.
everybody for joining us today, this morning. It's been early. We had to do it a little bit earlier because Caroline is from India. So she's already in the PM and we are in the AM. So anyway, but thank you for much to join us. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below and the Facebook page, and then we'll answer them for you a little later on. But thank you so much, and have an awesome day. Thank you so much, Caroline. You're so bright, shiny, and beautiful. So thank you. Okay.
Take care.
Take care, everybody. Okay. Thank you. And don't forget to be kind. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.